Welcome to Focus Fitness. My name's Dave and I'm going to take you through foam rolling. We start all of our workouts with foam rolling for a few reasons. One is we believe that foam rolling allows you to have the best range of motion. It removes restrictions. A great way to think about that is to think about an article of clothing, maybe a sweater or a shirt. Imagine someone pulls and you're really tight right here. Well, that's actually, the tension is up here, but the restriction, it's actually affecting movement down here as well. So if we can kind of work this out, now we kind of have good movement through everywhere. As the way that relates to strength training, it's going to decrease the chance of injury as well as increase the quality of movement in general. And since we're here to move muscle, to create tissue damage, to build muscle, if you can move, if your range of motion is better, your movement is elongated and full range, you're gonna get better workout, better muscle activation, more tissue damage, more recovery, stronger, faster, leaner, all that. So with that in mind, let's go through the steps of foam rolling. The first step in foam rolling is we're gonna start with the quads. So we're gonna go down the leg, we're gonna go down one leg and we're gonna come up the other. So we're gonna do our quads, we're gonna do our glutes, and we're gonna do our calves to finish. So we're gonna come up the other leg from the calves to the glutes, to the quads or the thighs, right? To start to do the thighs, we're gonna take a roller and we're gonna lean onto it. We're gonna bring our thigh on top of it like this. We're gonna stack our feet to start, just as a way to kind of gauge where we're at. With our feet stacked, we know that our hips are also stacked. From there, we're gonna take a foot forward. With that foot forward, we're gonna lean into it a little bit. What that does is that takes the angle off of the 90 or the IT band, and it's gonna put a little bit more emphasis on the rectus femoris, a little bit more emphasis on the muscle of the quad versus the IT band. And that's why we're gonna lean forward here. So now that we have the foot planted, we have a hand planted here. These are kind of our anchors. They're gonna allow us to move up and down. So we're gonna slide up and down lightly, across the muscle, across the thigh. And we're just kind of gonna see how we feel. Now I have a couple tight spots, so now that I've taken a couple broad passes, I'm gonna slow down. I'm gonna hang out on that tender spot, and this is where we wanna take a few deep breaths. See if we can kind of release that. We can also do things like move this leg this way. We can bend it. And that's creates a little cross fiber friction. These are massage techniques, but they're ways to also release that muscle. As you're going through, you're also gonna try to stay between the bony part on the side of the thigh and the knee. So when we're going through the muscles, we're just trying to stay on the muscle part. We're not trying to go onto the tendon. We're not trying to go onto the bony part. So that's important, especially on the thigh, to just, as you get towards the bone or towards the edge of the muscle, it'll feel different, you'll know, and that's kind of where you're gonna stop and then reverse that action back in the other direction. But you do wanna get through the full muscle. So that's the quadriceps. Next the next one we're gonna do is the glutes. So from the glutes, we just sit on the roller. I just did my right thigh, so I'm gonna do my right glute. To do that, I'm gonna sort of shift my weight. Now my weight is leaning on that right hip, that right glute. Take that right leg, pull it up over and cross over my knee, make a figure 4 here. What this does is it stretches the glute and it allows you to get deeper with the roller. So we're gonna roll back and forth a few times, get that general sensation, and then focus on the tighter spots. So the deeper spots, from here you can do a little rocking, you can kind of shimmy a little bit side to side, anything to kind of just loosen up that tissue a little bit. So that's the right hip. We did the hip following the quad or the thigh. Now we're gonna go down to the calves. On the way to the calves, we can stop by the hamstring. I don't really find the hamstring to be super easy to get at with the roller, and that's because this is a little bit of a broader implement. It's kind of a nice bigger arc. The hamstring's like something smaller. So like a roller or even like a lacrosse ball, I find to be a little bit better for getting into the hamstring. I'll sort of hang out, see if I feel anything. If I don't feel too much, and I normally don't, I'm gonna go down to my calves. Calves are good because you have two muscles in your calves. You have the gastrocnemius and the soleus underneath it. That border where those two muscles meet tends to be a little gummy, a little sticky. So one of the things we're trying to do with rolling is also just try to break up adhesions between the muscles. So when you're rolling on the calves, I'm gonna roll on this one, I'm gonna really focus kind of on that border where those two muscles are overlaying each other. Place the calf on the roller, bring the other leg on top to add a little weight. You can just cross that way, or you can put the foot on top. And then if you have the upper body strength, you can even pop your body up, and that's gonna just make it a little bit deeper. If that's too intense, you can stay on the ground and go this way. For some people, the foot is even too intense, and this can be fine as well. You're just gonna roll around. Now you're gonna go up and down the middle. Then I also think of the foot as the dial of a clock. So you're gonna go out to 3 o'clock, you're gonna come in to 9 o'clock, and that's okay too. You're gonna get all those parts of that. And then another thing you can do with the calf is roll. So this is where you find, now we've done some kind of broad passes, we're gonna go over those like knots, the tender spots. And a way to break that up with the calf is to roll the foot. So you can do counterclockwise 3 or 4 times, clockwise 3 or 4 times. You can go up and down, right and left, and all those things kind of break it up. So now we made it down to the calf. At this point, we would go up the other side from the calf to the glute, to the thigh, and that would be the lower body. At that point, you go to the upper body. So for the upper body, you're gonna start with the roller at the bottom of the ribs. Now, it may feel good to kind of roll in the low back, but we don't encourage that. It's just not really the safest thing to do. If you do have tension there, that's maybe something for a professional to work on. So we like to just keep the roller at the bottom of the rib cage to start. From here, you're gonna roll, you're gonna push weight through the hips and kind of boost up the booty a little bit, the rear end, and you're gonna roll this way. We're rolling from the bottom of the ribs up above the shoulder blades to the base of the neck. These are the nice broad passes again. We can bear hug ourselves, and that's gonna spread the shoulder blades apart. It's gonna allow us to get in between the shoulder blades a little bit more, get our rhomboids. That's usually pretty tender. Now, this is a good opportunity to work on some thoracic or upper spinal mobility. And one way to do that is to just reach back. If this causes any discomfort or pain, obviously stop. For most of us, this feels pretty good. Some people get some nice back cracking here. And one thing we can do is we can do some joint articulation. So starting at the lower vertebra, but still on the rib cage, you can arch back, and then using the head, you can actually pull the hands and almost like elongate the neck and reach up, and then arch back, move up a vertebra, crunch forward. Again, we're not really just crunching forward, more like elongating the spine. Come back, go down, elongate, and there, and elongate. That usually feels really, really good. By that, some people have a few back cracks that feel really nice. So that's the thoracic, that's the spine. From here, we're gonna move to the last few. So next is gonna be the shoulder. Easy way to do the shoulder is to lay on it. I tell people, just like you're watching TV, you're laying on the couch. So you have the arm 90 degrees here to the body, you have a nice right angle. And this roller is here, and I have my shoulder, I have this nice meaty part of my shoulder on this roller back here. And I'm gonna wiggle a little bit with my hips to allow the roller to kind of go over this. Now, it's not a big muscle, like the rear deltoid is pretty small in most of us, so you don't have to wiggle too much to feel it there. But we're gonna go from the rear deltoid down to the rotator. The rotator is the angle this way. To do that, we're gonna bring the elbow over the roller. So now the roller's coming 45 degrees kind of through our armpit here. Again, you can wiggle a little bit to kind of feel these rotator muscles. Usually this is intense for most people. It's real sticky. You have a lot of little muscles that are all kind of hanging out around each other, and they like to get kind of crunchy and stuck together. So one thing we can do is do a waving arm motion. This is internal and external rotation. So we have the arm is also at 90 degree. So we have the elbow at 90 degree and the arm to the thorax at about 45 degrees. You're gonna internally rotate, externally rotate, internal, external. That's gonna create that kind of cross fiber stuff just like the foot did on the ankle. So that's rotator cuff. From the rotator, so we've done the shoulder, we've done the rotator, now we're gonna slide down to the lat. The lat is this big meaty back muscle that is on our side. It also connects right here. So that's why this area is important. This is our shoulder joint, 360 degrees circumduction, lots of muscles all coming together, all connecting around this joint. So the shoulder muscles, the rotator muscles, and the lat. So we want to get the lat. To do that, we're gonna just come up a little bit here. Roll here like this. That's the lat. Might be pretty tender for you, maybe not. And then we're gonna finish with the serratus. So at this point, we're gonna kind of come up this way. So we did the shoulder, rotator, lat. We're gonna swoop up, make like a circular, like a J, hook motion, and we're gonna actually lean on this way. And now we're gonna get a little bit of the rib cage and a little bit of the armpit. And that's gonna be pretty good. And that will be foam rolling of the upper body. We just did one arm. You would repeat on the other arm, deltoid, rotator, lat, circling up through the serratus and the armpit. That's foam rolling, lower body and upper body. Good.